To remove the bolt, you got to come on this side here with a non-standard. Well, I had to go buy this separately. This is a 55mm Torx. So you need a 55 on that. This is what it looks like. And this side here, this is a German bike, so I expect this would have been metric, but I had no metric socket to fit that. But I found out that my 15/16 socket fitted. I'll show you. See, there's hardly any play. So that was just the nut turning. So once you got that out, then you got to remove this little split ring here, and then use drifts to knock these halves out. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then show you what it looks like afterwards. But once you do that, right, this here will come off. And in my case, this will come off and all of that will come out with it. So one of the things they say is to stand this upright when you take it off, not on the disc. And also, don't lean it on its side for some reason. As it turns out, you don't have to remove that split ring there. What I did was I just put the old socket on this, put the old socket on that, and bent it a little bit to get some purchase, and then I just pulled it out and it came out. So it'll fairly easy to come out. So I just got to push the other one out now from the other side, from this side, push the other one out, and then that final drive unit should fall right off. Success, guys. They're apart. You wouldn't believe, as I removed the pivot point for that final drive unit, and I lifted the final drive and the shaft together out of the swing arm, the joint here just fell apart. It just came off. So I don't know if I didn't have it at the right angle or it didn't persist more enough, but it came off. I mean, I was banging on it. What I was doing before, I was flexing this before I took this final drive off. I was flexing it up and down, you know, trying to kind of like, you know, and that was causing the shaft to bang on the inside of the swing arm of the housing, of the shaft housing. I don't know if all of that kind of loosened it up or what, but when I took it out, the two came apart. So now is a good time for an inspection. This is the spline at the engine output shaft end. As you can see, there's that groove there. It's a pretty good groove, so that means you'll need probably some half decent force normally to get it out. But the point I'm trying to make here is that shaft is perfect. It's got no rust on it. That little bit on the end is just the exposed side, but in the mating surfaces, which is just ahead or forward of that groove, it's all greased. So I'm going to reach in there and grease it up a little bit more and try and get the grease all around. But I'm going to be putting the grease on the coupling side, you know, more evenly. So there'll be lots of grease in there. That end is going to get some grease as well. So I'm very pleased with this. Looking at the inside of the shaft, let me see if I can go look up here and give you a good view. As you can see, pretty dry. Pretty dry in the lowest point here. I apologize for all the weird angles, but I'm trying to hold this little light as I aim my phone, and you can see in there that looks pretty darn good. You can see the output shaft all the way down to the end. So I'm very pleased with this. I've got no water in my system. Actually, on inspection, that joint here, the rear joint between the boot and the final drive unit, is really good. And if you can look inside there, I've got no water. So all you see here is just a light bit of rust that is on that spline. But other than that, there's no water inside my system. None at all. There's no water that came out. Some people said that they had a whole bunch of water fall out of their drive shaft housing, and there was all kinds of water in the back here. Mine was totally dry. So when I put it back together, I'm going to put that silicone paste around this thing here and then make sure that it's sealed up. But looking at that real close, there doesn't seem to be any silicone grease on that from the factory. So I don't know how others have reported that water is getting past this gators. Probably not. Now let's look at take a close. So that's it. I'm gonna just lube that up nicely, and maybe take a little bit of, I don't know if I've got a small enough wire brush, but I'll try to get some of that rust off, and then I'll lube it up. Let's look at the drive shaft condition. This is the forward end of the shaft and forward coupling, and I'm exercising it here now, moving it up and down, and it feels smooth, no grittiness. And this other pin here, I'm moving this back and forth again, smooth, no play in this at all. I'm pulling back and forth, trying to wiggle it, and this seems to be in really good condition. As you can see, no rust on the outside. And let's have a look inside and see what we can find. I don't know if you can see that, but there's no rust. There's no rust inside there. It's all very clean. And this is the final drive end. Now, as you can see here, there's a light coating of rust here on this final drive end. So that is what was causing a little bit of the binding. But like I said, this has never been out to the bike since manufacturing. The bike has got 50-something thousand miles on it. Let's check this. This is rotating nice and smooth. Oh, beautiful, even better than the forward end. And also, the coupling is rotating nicely about the other pin. So this whole universal joint here is in good condition as well. Very, very, very pleased, and I just got to get rid of this little bit of rust. There's that rear coupling again. As you can see, the rust that it does have is not evenly distributed along or around the circumference. That's weird. There's a rust right there. Right, and in this section here, there's hardly any rust. So 1/3 of the circumference, the inner circumference of this mating surface here has got rust, but the other 2/3 doesn't. And at the forward end, like I showed before, trying to get the right angle here, it's perfect. Look at that. A little bit dry, of course. There's no molybdenum disulfide grease, you know, liberally remaining all around this thing here. So I'm gonna fix that. But the outside here of the shaft is nice and clean and dry. And before I did this job, I was thinking of maybe coating this or something, but I don't think so, because this sees a lot of condensation, and if you coat it, then maybe the condensation it might interrupt the or mess up with the evaporation of the condensation due to the heat inside of this sealed, almost sealed housing. That is what I've read that causes a lot of the corrosion that you find in this. It's condensation. It's not river crossing or anything like that. So I've read that this is the case. So as with the drive shaft, the rust on the spline at the final drive end is only in one spot, and it looks like it might be the same 1/3 circumference. It's only in that spot that you see right now. 2/3 of this spline here, or maybe half of this spline, is not too bad. So I'm going to do what I did with the coupling and just put a light brushing of I've got a toothbrush here, and it's got some WD-40 on it. So I'm gonna just put a light brushing in that, get rid of some of that rust, and then I'll lube it up with the molybdenum. So how much grease is is required? It depends. I've been applying this grease using my finger like that, okay? And all I'm doing is putting enough grease to fill up the valleys in the splines, because when you have two mating surfaces like a spline connection, it just needs a little bit of lubrication wherever the teeth interact with each other. Anything beyond that is a waste. So all you need, and it's a tight fit, so all you need is a little bit of grease. Don't go overboard with the grease. That's a waste. Okay, unless you want to protect from rust, you put the grease all around here. But you can use some different rust inhibitor than molybdenum disulfide grease. So I'm going to go ahead and continue greasing up like this, and just putting a nice coating on it all over, and that's it. I've got a light coating of molybdenum disulfide all around that spline on the final drive unit. I also took the opportunity to clean off this surface here a bit. It had dust on it, so I cleaned it off so this silicone paste here would stick a little bit better. Similarly with the couplings, I've got a nice coating on the inside on both ends. So this shaft is ready to go back in. And I will confess to you that the part that concerned me the most about this before I actually started doing it was getting this back onto the output shaft of the engine. So because I have to feed it in from one end and try and hook it up from the other side, from the front end. So we'll see how that goes. I have this idea that I can just line it up and then use this mallet here. I'm going to just use this mallet here to maybe bang on the side here, on the end, on the other end, and hopefully it'll go in. We'll find out. This is what I'm talking about. As you can see, I've stuck the shaft back in there, and the coupling is below the output shaft. So I've got to figure out how to raise that up and get it lined up with this, because you've got this big shaft that's kind of like resting on the bottom of this housing here, and yeah, so let me fight with that. I'll tell you how it worked out. So I tied a bit of twine onto the front coupling like this, pass the twine through all the way up to here, and comes out here. So my idea to try will be to try and lift the front coupling as I push forward, and then cut the string off. All right, we'll see how that goes. You want to use a bungee cord to kind of pull that front gaiter back, because I tell you, you can't do it. You can't couple these two together if you're trying to hold this gaiter back out of the way. And a good idea would be to put some kind of a protection on the end there, because your right hand is going to be maneuvering from this side, while on this side here you're using either the string and or the a screwdriver underneath to try and lift up that front end. I know you can't see too much, but try and lift up. There's the coupling there. Try and lift up the front end so that it jumps onto the end. And once you've got that, then you've got to be able to quickly push it forward. I just realized mine has no ring. The inside of this coupling here has no split ring. As you can see, there's no ring there that fits into the groove on the output shaft. What's that all about? So as you can see, the aft coupling is ready to line up with the spline.